Alex.
Actually, let Martin take charge of this.
Yeah, good day to you. Good afternoon. In the name of myself, for those who doesn't know me, my name is Martin Jambor. I've been in charge of Canoa Resort as a general manager. I've been happily living here in Saipan and CNMI for 7 years with my family and 9 years old son. And it's my privilege to welcome Deputy Consul General from LA, Mr. Josef Smiček, who's been visiting for his second time actually. He was here in 2012 as a tourist, and it's the first time for him to be him on a diplomatic journey. Welcome to CNMI.
When you're ready.
No, the light should be on.
The red one.
Red. Should be red.
Should be right. It is right.
Closer.
No, sir. Okay. Again, thank you for the warm welcome. By way of introduction, I want to explain actually why someone from Los Angeles would be suddenly here.
I think it's more the Czech Republic.
Well, either way, both are quite far, but last year, a political decision was made by the Czech Foreign Ministry to make sure that every territory in the Pacific has firm diplomatic representation. Because given your status, for any formal request, the nearest post for anyone from Northern Marianas would be the Czech embassy in Washington, D.C., which, as you can imagine, would not be the nearest point. In terms of dividing the jurisdiction, recently American Samoa, Guam, and Commonwealth of Northern Marianas were allocated to our mission, which means that the Czech Consul General, my boss, is the diplomatic agent accredited to Northern Marianas. But again, it's a long distance run. At the same time, he who is now the Czech Consul General in Los Angeles has previously served as the Czech ambassador to the Philippines. We are sent on rotation, so his previous mission was the Philippines, and the same person visited as tourist and as a writer a few times over here, informally. So once he was appointed the Czech Consul General to Los Angeles, he just jumped on the opportunity to do anything he can to have Northern Marianas under our jurisdiction. Still, this is not enough. When we said we want to be presented in a tangible way, we wanted to have someone who is present and who can be present and represent the Czech Republic. I understand it was still in his formal capacity that he did the Ambassador Olsha, Consul General Olsha. He met with Mr. Jambor, and back then he was just thinking of what we are now going to propose, and that would be that Mr. Jambor would be the resident honorary consul of the Czech Republic in Northern Marianas. So this mission of mine is the very first step, well, not the very first step, but the first practical step on the journey. Until now, Mr. Jambor has prepared a very good and impressive dossier that is a list of paperwork, including letters of recommendation. And I don't want this to sound lightly, but these would be very impressive letters of recommendation that would see him as a very solid candidate for the post. Mind you, as far as we know, the only Czech right now present on the Northern Marianas also. But again, with his pedigree and long-term run on the community life in Saipan, he would make a very good candidate in my view, in my boss's view, in the Consul General's view. And we hope when we take the process from here onwards, he would be endorsed by the Czech Foreign Minister and appointed. The whole process would then be stepped up onto the final level, which would see the approval by the U.S. Department of State upon liaising with your governor's office. And that's when it stops for the formalities and starts for the practical life. And that's when the honorary consulate of the Czech Republic in Northern Marianas could open. I would be very cautious as to giving any deadlines because we are wearing what we are wearing. We are social distancing and we have to keep the pace with the pandemic. So I wouldn't say we'll do it as quickly as possible because we are also worried that the Czech tourists, something that someone who Martin would be assisting, are not coming anytime soon because they wouldn't be able. But still, we would like to see 2022, sometime next year, to be the year where the consulate would take shape. We are also aware that that is something I wasn't prepared for when I was preparing my trip. That this would actually mean that it would be the first honorary consulate of a European country located here. Strange but true, it would also put an extra burden on Mr. Jambor because any diplomatic representative who is coming from a European Union country, and Czech Republic is a part of the European Union, is obliged to provide consular assistance to any other European Union citizen. So that would mean actually, I hope not too much, but quite a few cases once the old normal resumes and more tourists from Europe get traveling here. So my mission is fact-finding. I was having very good meetings so far, and I'm just honored to be seeing you, listening to me, and listening to our plans to enhance not only formal diplomatic ties with Northern Marianas, but to embark on this mission where we would be having, hopefully, in the long run, more practical things to exchange, like books, translation of publications, maybe a film screening, you name it. So we are just open and ready for any proposals you may have, because I will be very happy to report on them as well. Thank you for the introduction.
Thank you very much. Members, if we open up for questions. Here recognize Representative Simon.
Thank you so much for that opening presentation and for explaining to us your purpose and your mission here. I think most of us, if not all of us, were curious to know why there were representatives from the Czech Republic here at all. But we are delighted to have you here and welcome again. So I'm just interested in understanding a little bit better. You mentioned you're here for fact-finding. Do you, and that Mr. Jambor, you're the only one from the Czech Republic, the only citizen from the Czech Republic here now?
Well, actually, it's
including my family, there would be 3. But as you know, there's a long history for Czech and Slovak Republic. So, I was raised and born in Czechoslovakia. So that can actually add another 7 on top. So we're talking about 9 or 10 at the present.
Okay, so 9 Czechs and Slovakians.
That's correct.
Okay, and do you have an idea of how many citizens of any of the European Union countries are here as well? Because I have no idea.
I would say it's probably less than 50, but it would reach 250. I can tell you, since I have been here, how many European citizens I've had a privilege to welcome, and it was many, definitely at least 20 or 30 I was able to invite. And just for the record, I'm not counting my family members. I'm counting business person, airlines, newspapers or radio or TVs workers coming from Europe. As obviously they were curious and they would like to explore this part of the world. So my vision and personal goal, if I will be appointed as an honorary consul, really will be not to promote only Czech Republic and the CNMI, but vice versa. Living here for 7 years, obviously this became my home, and I would definitely like to see more European coming over to the island. That's why I think I am aware of having extra burden on the shoulder being the only European consulate, but I also see it as an opportunity. Being the only European consulate on island will give me the opportunity to actually invite more and represent the entire European Union here.
Yeah, it's a tremendous burden, but also it sounds like a wonderful opportunity. So I guess my last question, you mentioned, Sir, Mr. SH, that you came here as a tourist before, and then you've been here for 7 years, and it sounds like your boss also came here as a tourist. How do citizens of the Czech Republic hear about the Northern Marianas in the first place?
Go ahead.
My different? It's red. Oh, they said that one accent. It's okay. We can hear you. It's fine. Okay. I don't want to sound too biased, but Czech Republic is a landlocked country. We have no sea. So for Czechs, the ultimate desire is to visit places at sea. We are, and I bet quite a lot for that. Czechs are thrill-seeking travelers. I've been to remote places and I would always stumble upon a Czech or two where I've had. So we love to travel. And given that Czechs, Slovaks, and most of European nations would be having 4 to 5 weeks vacation a year, we have time to travel and spend the time in faraway places. Because that's in addition to our National Day holidays and the individual days off. Northern Marianas, along with Palau and Guam, have a reputation for diving, fishing, for sea life, and for, again, the thrill of revisiting the Pacific paradise. That's the idea behind this part of the world for Czechs. Sometimes idealized, but pretty much true. Because whenever I'm revisiting my experience, this is what Czechs usually would call tropical paradise. And maybe much as a cliche as it sounds, I think it's a very good selling point. And for Europeans who want to visit exotic places, this is a very good place to go. Also, until the pandemic hit, given our national airlines membership in the same alliance as Korean Air, there would be a single stop service between Prague and Saipan.
Prague to Seoul flight would be operated once a day, so there would be 7 flights a week, so daily flight from Prague. So this would be a very easily accessible part. Of course, the other way around as well. Of course, it would not be the most expected destinations for the locals to visit, but again, opportunity has been there and will be there once the borders globally reopen.
Thank you, Representative Sablan. Any other members? Recognize Representative Scott.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you so much for coming. And it's nice to know you in a different light, Martin. I'm actually very excited about this because would this mean that you would be able to assist Europeans who have passport issues? Yes, my husband has been without a passport for 5 years. He is landlocked, literally. And so that would be, his mom would be so excited. Oh my gosh. Wow. So I thank you so much for making this, because like the only way that he could get a passport is he would have to go to Japan, where the Austrian consulate is, in person, or California, which catch-22, he can't go anywhere. So thank you. That's all I have to say.
And
Your first client.
at this very minute, I have to say, I must say, hold your horses yet. Because this level of practical cooperation would be actually limited to emergency cases only.
Okay.
Because a country like Austria would not be, like the passport competencies within European Union members are still on a national level.
So,
Bigger picture cooperation is only within emergency cooperation. So once, of course, keep checking, because the integration is evolving slowly but surely. but Martin would not be able to issue an Austrian
Oh,
license.
no, I didn't.
He couldn't do that.
Unless we make it as an emergency for you.
But emergency, that would work.
Well, I guess, if there's a medical emergency, at least I would have an avenue of who to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Youngman.
Thank you. You made me look up Czech. Yes, and yes, it is landlocked. And yes, it will be great to have you here as tourists, as I'm the chair for commerce and tourism. We welcome people with money. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative, did you have a question?
I was curious, what is the main industry in Czech?
The number one export industry that we have is something that we already debated early this morning, and we found out that would be very difficult to implement here. Our number one export commodity are cars, passenger cars, but they have never had a strong presence in the USA. There were some exports of those to Canada or Dominican Republic, and they are actually regional assembly plants for the Skoda SKODA, that's the brown Skoda cars in India, China or Russia and elsewhere in Europe. But to kickstart an import, that would be very difficult. We had also been actually touching upon early this morning the option of maybe investigating the possibility of importing some heavy-duty trucks that we also produce in the Czech Republic of the Tatra brand, which would be one of the top 5 oldest car producers in the world. We are also geared for tourism because the capital of Prague has been known to many as the ultimate medieval capital in Europe. And we have a great number of UNESCO sites across the country. We have, so there are many drawing agents that take, so tourism would be a notable source of income. But first of all, it would be high-tech manufacture, cars, carriages, for trains, as I mentioned, the trucks. And a little bit of trivia. There is one Czech invention that many people are wearing without knowing. It will be the contact lenses. That's ultimately a patented Czech invention. Or cube sugar, but cube sugar is difficult to think because in the US they don't use it. But basically the way to shake sugar into solvable forms, that's something again the Czech inventors came up with 200 years ago. Yeah, that's difficult. Well, we are also good in manufacturing equipment for nuclear power plants, but I don't think we want to start those. Well, yes, and then there would be the traditional communities that we are famous for, but actually we consume them quite a lot. So they wouldn't make a big exporting article because we like to buy it ourselves. That will be the Czech beer of Pilsner type, because Pilsner is actually a city in the Czech Republic, and so is Budweiser. So Budweiser, there is the long run case between the American Bud and the Czech brewery of Budweiser, because we are competing on who has the trademark for it. But the original city of Budweiser is a city on South Bohemia with a beer production spanning across close to 500 years. And yes, as correctly pointed out, we are also the creators of Bohemian or Czech, because Bohemian originally stands for Czech, Bohemian glass and Bohemian crystal.
Not to lay a sore spot here, but the Crystal Dragons in are there.
Did you take him there?
We're taking them there. Where is this?
Oh, wow.
$13 million piece dragons.
You might buy it.
$15 million.
They also make pencils, like artist pencils, is what I was told. The best
Yes.
pencils come from Czech.
And the particular invention is that and it's something very new, like 15 years backwards. We were those who have patented the multicolor pencil. So it depends on how you turn it. That's the shape of so it's one pencil, but it depends how you move it. That's the color you need to draw.
Right. So interesting.
Excuse me, no, we don't want to go there, we want them to come here.
It sounds like, your country has a lot to offer the CNMI because we don't have, many of the, products you guys produce or manufacture in your country. One other question, what is the average, GDP or the GDP of the Czech Republic?
I will need to look it up
Okay,
as we speak.
okay. That's fine, I was just curious.
11 million people.
Yeah.
Yeah, the population is close to 11 million, but I will look it up as we speak.
Okay.
We just, again, I have to wrap it diplomatically. The historical developments of what is now the Czech Republic and was before for 90 years Czechoslovakia was based upon the Austro-Hungarian Empire that existed for several hundred years. And in that period, what is now the Czech Republic would always be the center of industry and commerce. Strategically, for the whole empire, it would be a good location, far from the borderlines of the empire, so they would not be prone to kind of steal by an invading nation back then. So that's why we were lucky enough to get the big abundance of industrial plants, which was kind of teamed up with the fact that there would be the Czech engineers, the Czech builders and architects that could make it happen. So that's why we were blessed ever since Czechoslovakia was built 100 plus years ago, with a very good heritage of strong industrial production. In the interwar period, between the First and Second World War, it would be the 7th largest economy in the world in terms of industrial output. So this is something, again, as you may already like an industrial and high-tech, high-tech or high added value production. That's something that we like to be famous for. And also that also generate actually people with decent incomes to travel.
Yeah. I have a question. Yeah, I was just thinking, as you were talking about bringing more people from the Czech Republic here to visit our beautiful island, what is the process for establishing sister city agreements, perhaps, in the future? Would that be something that we could work with Mr. Jambor on once hopefully he is confirmed in his appointment? Because we do have sister city agreements with other cities in Japan particularly, right? And these agreements are meant to promote cultural exchange and friendship. And if the connection between Prague and South Korea and Saipan, that it sounds like that could be the first, the first opportunity for European citizens to return as tourists to these islands. Perhaps there could be more exchange. And you would be the very first European consulate office in the Northern Marianas, in this part of the world for the United States territories, right? So I would suggest that as a possibility to consider in the future.
So I don't know the answer, whatever that would be possible, but Tina, I'm really glad that you brought it up because those items are exactly on my list. Whatever it comes to program for students to exchange, to come over to Saipan with maybe even entire family and spend some, longer time, 2 to 3 months on island while they are going to school and, learning different culture, learning English and so on. Signing partnership with other cities, that's exactly those things which are on my list, and I'm so happy that you brought it up. In terms of easy access, since CNMI is US land, there's actually no visa requirement. So it's same visa process like we have with Japan or South Korea. So 90 days you can stay without processing any visa. It's on ESTA? Yeah, ESTA program. So, and again, as we mentioned earlier, having a direct flight from Prague to Incheon, which Incheon is really like main hub for Europe, that makes the traveling much more easier with one transit only.
I've just learned today that we already have strong cultural ties. We love Budweiser here. There's a long history of that as well. We can only build from there.
How long is a flight from, let's say, Prague to South Korea or Incheon?
So it's depends on the wind, but it takes about 10 hours, 10.5 hours. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm already thinking because also Czech Republic has a tourism tourism office in Korea. I'm already thinking how to combine those trips with trip to South Korea. Spending a couple of days in South Korea and then travel over to Saipan. So, and as Mr. Smishik mentioned, European typically we don't take less than 2 weeks holiday.
And that was the impetus you made, segue, is the Russians were doing the same thing. In fact, 70% of our arrivals were actually from Moscow, not from Moscow, not from Vladivostok, right? So they're transiting through Vladivostok to come through and take that near 17-hour travel to get here. So we think there's a big opportunity. You might want to know why I'm here. I'm here to support.
Yeah, what are you here for?
Well, in my business, we're trying to grow consul channels. We got Ellie. We're gonna have him. We have a German manager, so soon we'll have Germany.
Closer to Austria.
We're here as a team, and I'm here to support Martin. So.
Suggestion, perhaps Mr. Sablan can lead you to NMC, so we can start once everything, all the plans come into place. It'd be interesting to start a student exchange program through the colleges and universities, because as they do in many mainland universities, they have those programs, and Guam doesn't even have it. So it'd be interesting if we start one for the CNMI. And I always believe we're education supporters of education, and we believe that it can become an industry here if we learn to tap into the right resources.
Yeah, so as you speak, I was putting an agenda and helping put 2 days program for Mr. Smichet. So yeah, on one of the bullet point on the agenda is to meet with the principals of the schools here in Saipan as well.
And we support that. We will support it here.
In response,
You can say.
talking and
I think you're
still we go. I'm pronouncing it wrong?
No, you're fine. It's
You're
just,
recused.
I think it's your.
You can hear me.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
It's not the Czech Republic.
In terms of the, just put a little bit that were not answered before, the GDP is $26,000 per person. Unadjusted, 43 adjusted, 43,000 adjusted, 26,000 nominal. Yeah. When it comes to the sister cities, this is a very interesting proposal. And again, I don't want to personalize the initiatives. The recent Consul General, my boss in Los Angeles, is a person who is very much into public diplomacy, and a sister city twinning project is something he strongly advocates. Wherever he's posted, he usually drafts publications on the diaspora and the locals. Right now, he's been only there for 9 months. He already published a book on Czech and Alaska, part of our territory. And he is now actively writing, getting his resources Czechs in Guam, and he's going to extend this about the Northern Marianas. I could imagine he would be able to trace one of it, because I'm pretty sure that there were missionaries in the 17th century who were visiting and resident in Guam. Yes, yes. Some of them actually, now we don't know that as far, but we already know that there would be botanical samples in the National Museum of Prague taken from Guam. So we have to take it one step up and find out whether there would be, but we are talking about samples from the 17th century. So it could be that the same mission or similar missions took place here, so that we can actually trace it to who was here where he was from. And that's so if it wouldn't be too much of a nuisance that it might not be Prague, but a different Czech city that partner up with historical ties, that would actually work. On our side, they would be probably the mediator. There is a public association of cities, which is the body responsible for twinning. So there is also a partner that does the administrative things. So we have the vehicle for this. So that's something that is doable.
Yeah.
First, to generate a good partners, sister city in the Czech Republic with some maybe historical ties, and then to make it happen by Martin, our consulate, and the association in the Czech Republic. That's something I've seen happening in my previous postings elsewhere. When it comes to this student exchange, that's something we as the consulate in Los Angeles see very frequently. Our visa section every year would process close to 1,000 applications from US students who want to spend as little as a semester. That would be a semester or two, or a full BA or MA program at those Czech universities that offer full English courses. They are program-based. There are two schools that have this in operation, and one American University and New York University in Prague. These are US accredited. It means that any time spent there counts towards the American History program. But equally, there will be some who choose the whole school to be done in the Czech Republic. So they are immersing in the American curriculum and graduating from a Czech-based American accreditation. So that would be again possible. I understand that the memorandum has been approved.
I'm being told that I'm being heard, but fine. Yes, thank you. So we know that there's already a memorandum of understanding that was signed between the University of Guam and the Czech University of Life Sciences. So about the student exchange, and again, it took a few. It wasn't just at the spur of the moment. I believe it took a year or two in preparation, but again, the interest was there, and that would also this particular project would involve bilateral exchange. So there would be some Czech marine biologists. Again, for a landlocked country, it's quite difficult to go marine biology in the Czech Republic. So that's where actually the other side became a very interesting partner for visiting. Yeah.
I do just want to note on the subject of historical ties. You said there were Czech missionaries in Guam in the 17th century. So at the time, all of the people in the Saipan would have been settled on Guam. Everybody was moved by the Spanish Empire to Guam. So I think we could easily establish historical ties, at least in that sense, between the people of the Northern Marianas. And then one other question for you, Mr. Martin, would this be a lifetime appointment? Because if so, you couldn't leave then, right? You're it.
I don't think there's such a thing like lifetime appointment for honorary consul. I believe the regular term would be for 5 years. Correct me if I'm wrong.
But he will be here for a lifetime.
Ellie's been honored.
Yeah, through different presidents.
Yeah.
All right.
Just on practical terms, the Czech Republic used to have the lifetime appointment, but what you would have, we would do it at the start of our foreign service as the Czech Republic. That would be the early 90s. It's not really practical because then you have a honorary consul who is 90 plus years, and much as they may want to do the work, simply the power is not there. And it was very difficult to get into the process of stripping them away from the function, because that would feel very sad, like, oh, we don't want to, but we have to because we need somebody to be more of an action. So now we've been along with the desire of the U.S. State of Department guidelines to go into this 5-year extension offered option, and that's very standard. We do it everywhere. across the world. The Czech Republic is right now operating around 110 embassies and 110 embassies and general consulates, and around 200 honorary consulates. So we like to think we have an extensive network across the world and present as well.
Thank you, members. Any more questions, comments?
Thank you.
You're good. All right, Alex.
Again, for the opportunity to come and meet with you and to bring this opportunity to the Commonwealth, and we're hoping and praying that this comes very quickly, especially through the State Department clearance, which apparently takes a little while. So Ellie mentioned that it took about 6 months for that. So hopefully, knock on wood, next time, probably in the middle of the year, we should have something in play.
Yeah, I also would like to thank you for your time and for having us, having this opportunity to bring Mr. Smith here. I know he's shy to us, but I was wondering, would it be possible to take a picture?
Oh, I was going to mention that. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, members, and thank you, Mr. Joseph and Mr. Martin. Alex, always a pleasure. Shall we do here? Like painting?
They need to change their mind.
By the seal?
By the seal, yeah.
Yeah.
Who wants to give their camera?
I'll send it all to you guys.
Okay.